Hello, and welcome to the Cryptocurrency News Channel. Before I start, I'd like to remind you that if you want to join me on my live stream in about an hour or so, please check out my description and the link in the comments. I'm streaming on my backup Good Free Photos channel, so subscribe to that. I also have a new channel called Crypto Daily Updates, where you'll be getting all the great crypto updates for the day in one video. So if you want everything in one video on all the crypto news, please check out that channel as well. Now let's actually get on to our topic, which is how will coins actually recover after we start going up again, or after the economy recovers in a couple of months, most likely. I think crypto will recover faster than the actual economy. Unemployment, yes, it does affect crypto assets like everything else, but a lot of crypto things aren't really hampered by the same things traditional companies are. But let's actually just go down the list. We got about 10 coins I want to talk about. First, let's just talk about one of the smaller coins, REP. I think it'll recover fairly quickly. I specifically pointed out this coin because it's basically a gambling platform. They say it's a skill betting platform, but we all know what that is. It's like DraftKings or FanDuel. It's simply like you bet on the outcomes of certain, let's say you bet on the outcomes of certain events like presidential elections, Super Bowls, and stuff like that. There's plenty of degenerate gamblers out there, unfortunately. And I think people are always looking for places to make small bets or large bets. So REP, as long as there's still world events coming up for them to actually place bets on, and there always are, I think it's going to do fairly well. Binance coin, BNB, I think it's going to do very well with its expansion into India and other places, and also because it just bought CMC. You know they're going to use CMC to promote their services. So I have plenty of hope for Binance coin as well. Tezos is kind of in a different category. It should actually, like, based on everything, like if I didn't know about the Brazilian news, I would say Tezos would actually recover pretty fast. But I do know about the Brazilian news, and the thing is, Brazil's really cracking down on cryptocurrencies and the regulations there. So I have a little bit of pause for Tezos because I know one of Tezos' biggest deals is with like a large Brazilian investment bank for an STO that's worth like $1 billion or something. So I don't really know how many people know about that. Maybe they don't know about that and they'll keep speculating on it. I mean, like Tezos, if not for that, I would think would actually come up really fast. And I'm not really sure how many people actually know about that and how many people will actually make the connection, or if that'll affect the price at all. So Tezos might still come up really fast. Cardano or ADA, I think even during the time where we stay down in May or June, if they get Shelly out and then they get Goguan out in the summer, I think ADA will actually rise up very fast. That's why I'm about to buy like 5,000 or 6,000 more ADA, and I'll keep piling ADA for a little while, because I do think it has a good chance to really shoot up before the end of the year. If we get a good bull market, Shelly and Goguan release, I can see ADA like going like 10, 20x, if that actually happens. That is a big if though, because it requires the market to recover and it requires ADA to actually launch their stuff. Those are two big ifs. And there's definitely something that could actually go wrong there between those two big ifs. So ADA, I still think will rise pretty fast. I think all that really has to happen is Shelly has to come out soon. And during that release, I do think Cardano will pump. It depends how many projects immediately jump on, but like we know with the Indonesian coffee tracking thing, and a lot of the MOUs, they're ready to get onto Cardano soon. And we know that Cardano is going to probably get onto Coinbase because they have Charles leaked some kind of NDA with Coinbase that they're probably going to list it as soon as Shelly launches. I'm assuming Shelly's going to launch in May or June. So I expect at least a decent boost for Cardano in terms of price. And hopefully by May or June, the worst of the pandemic will actually be over. So I do think ADA will actually recover fairly quickly. Or it might even have its own bull run during tough times. The next one I want to talk about is Chainlink. So Chainlink should be one of the fastest to recover. However, there is a big caveat. The big caveat is they are actually on Ethereum. We know that their nodes essentially stopped for 6 hours because the transactions cost too much Ether or gas. So that's one of the biggest drawbacks for Chainlink, is that they're still on Ethereum. Now they could move to Cardano or something else, but that's going to take a while. I don't really know if the transition is going to kick up FOMO or fear. That's very, very difficult to say because, if they're moving to a different mainnet, that should FOMO, that should really cause FOMO. But the transitions take time and there's some problems. So that might cause fear, and like partnerships and stuff might be delayed. So that might cause fear as well. So I don't really know. Now, if Link does decide to move, whichever mainnet they decide to move to will definitely receive a pump. Link is one of the biggest projects still, like the top 14, 15 biggest projects in crypto. So I do think Link's recovery will probably be pretty swift. But the problem with Link is that it's still on Ethereum, and the memory of the network being congested and link nodes being down is still fresh in people's minds. I don't know if that will hamper the recovery or not, but it has a chance to do so because that was a pretty big deal. So it being on Ethereum does actually hamper a little bit, but I think Link is still one of those really hot coins that will recover in time. That will recover fairly quickly. The next one I want to talk about is TRX. Tron's problem isn't actually been its project. Honestly, it's actually been the CEO. The thing is, like, I actually think Tron's a pretty good project. With DLive integration with their newest partnership that may pay streamers to actually watch streams, and like with the BTT thing, it all ties in pretty well. And I mean, like Justin Sun, like I would say what he says is like 50-50. He's actually delivered about 50% of the time. The other 50% of the time, what he says is like fake. So it leaves people guessing, and that's not a good thing about your CEO, honestly. So I do think Tron, honestly, right now is actually sort of undervalued. So, with the DLive thing coming in, with the new partnership for streaming and everything, I actually do think Tron has a really good chance to go up fairly far once we actually start recovering again, because Tron and BTT are going to have utility. By the way, as BTT goes with Tron, they're actually using it for DLive. They might actually pay you in BTT for reward you in BTT for watching people stream, and that would actually be a really big boost for TRX. So they could come up pretty fast. They will recover with the rest of the market. Justin Sun's antics isn't going to like completely hinder their recovery, and I think they'll recover at least like around the same rate as other coins. But they probably will recover a little faster because there's a lot of hype going into it, and there's actual projects being done with TRX, whether you believe they're decentralized or not, which I don't completely believe they're decentralized, honestly. And plus, Tron's good staking rewards will actually draw a lot of people. So I do believe Tron will recover faster than average once like the market starts recovering. Maker's an interesting one. Now, you might think I think Maker's going down. It's actually just the opposite. I actually think Maker is going to recover quite a bit faster than most other things because Maker's taken a huge dip. And when there's a huge dip, I think you can recover to $500-$600 fairly easily. Now, above that, I'm not really sure. But Maker, despite its issues, they've raised $5.6 million off of investors to cover their debts. And the thing is, like, they are still by far the biggest DeFi project out there. Now, them being on Ethereum, being collateralized by Ethereum, and being congested on Chainlink when markets got really busy is really going to hamper them. I don't think trust has been restored. But the reason they bought in USDC as one of the collaterals is to actually restore trust. So I do believe that Maker will actually be pretty good in the time to come. And like I think a recovery to $500-$600 will be fairly quick once the market actually starts turning around. The next one I want to talk about is VET. Now, I don't think VET might recover as fast as some of the others I just mentioned. They are a Chinese coin, and regardless of China is trying to act as a leader in the global marketplace right now. The problem is, like, I think China has lost some of its capital trust because of the outbreak. Europe is very weary of, like anything the Chinese government says, and VET being based in China, even though it's being used by Foodgates, Fresh Supply, Co-Australia and stuff, I think some of that capital just for the country will take some time to get back. I don't know how tightly VET is actually tied to that. I think their partners like BMW, Foodgates, and all this stuff will continue to use VET. And the Chinese business network looks like it might actually use VET as well. And VET might be a big part of it, and plus the Belt and Road Initiative. Like VET is honestly waiting for a lot of the trade to actually open up, a lot of logistics to really go at full speed. That will probably take one of the longest because they have to check supplies and everything. So I expect VET to be very strong in the long term, but for a short-term recovery, unless Foodgates or something really blows it up, I do expect an extended recovery time for VET. HBAR, I actually do expect to recover fairly quickly. HBAR was growing before this all happened, and it's still at 3.3 cents, which is far higher than it was like 2 months ago or even a month ago. The upbit pump hasn't completely subsided, but it's been enough time to where they might actually have a new floor. So with that new floor, once things kick back up, and because IBM, Boeing, and other big companies are backing it, I can see H bar going up fairly quickly. KNC has that kind of like problem with liquidity, but they're actually being sourced for a lot of Ethereum DeFi projects. Think what you will of Ethereum DeFi projects. Yes, they do have their problems because of the Chainlink sometimes shuts down if the ETH gas cost gets too high. But if KNC is being pinged for getting prices for a lot of those DeFi projects, so I do believe KNC will actually recover as well, fairly quickly as well. And plus, you can't really talk about KNC recovery because they're still like 3 times as high as they were just like 2 months ago. The other thing is QNT. Now QNT I think could actually be in for kind of like a explosion, kind of like last year. Like last year it went to $15, and I wouldn't be surprised if sometime like later this year they went to $10 again, because QNT's, they have the Central Bank of Lithuania, which was a disappointment. I think people were unreasonable, hoping for a really large central bank to work with QNT, but they got one central bank. They're looking to talking to 2 more. Maybe people will be a little bit more tempered in their expectations this time. They won't think it's the ECB or something, but they're looking at probably at like 2 other small central banks. They have that partnership with SIA. They're going to be integrated in a lot of the European banking software because of SIA. Their overledger is very popular. So I actually expect them, when this all turns around, and they're pumping right now, to make a bit of a comeback. Remember, QNT was at like 20 cents early last year. So during this down market, despite its drop from the peak last year to right now, it's still done very well. And I think we could get back to the peak of last year, which is about $15, with these new announcements coming up and with a turn of the market. So QNT is definitely one to look at. The last one I want to talk about is actually Theta. I'm actually a fan of Theta, with partnerships with Samsung, like streaming like a lot of the NASA stuff. I think they got some, like big players in the pocket, and they don't really need to rely on the recession being over and people being employed again. Because when people are home, if you really think about it, when people are home, they watch and stream a lot, and Theta optimizing that could actually be a trigger for growth during this downtime, and they have the partnerships to do so. So a lot of big announcements from Theta will actually pump the price up even in this downtime. Now, if Bitcoin mega dumps, yeah, it's going to go down. But when Bitcoin actually starts coming back up, I think Theta is going to be one of the bigger winners. So that's my kind of like review on several coins. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, and hit that bell notifications button. Thank you, and have a nice day.